Hello, it's March 4th, 2026, and this is your morning briefing from Anchor Watch. I'm Bobby Jones. And again, I will continue with the current format of just giving the latest updates and what it potentially means in the conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran. So, with all the literal fireworks, missile flights, explosions, and all the military jargon that both sides are throwing out for public consumption. One of the things that I think is being overlooked is the pending humanitarian crisis that could be occurring. According to the BBC, estimates in Iran are now over 1,000 dead, and it is confirmed that over 4,000 flights a day have been canceled in the Middle East region. Quite honestly, you have diplomats working to charter flights, particularly out of Oman and not Jordan, Oman and UAE, in order for those who are the most vulnerable to leave, thus people with disabilities, etc. If you go online, you can see the reports of many of them landing at Heathrow International Airport in the United Kingdom, and all of them have the same story where they basically held their breath until they got past Israel on their way moving back to the west. Um, what's made all of the action with the military even more complicated is now, despite what Israel is saying about other Gulf nations joining in on helping to overthrow the regime in Iran. You have countries like UAE who are saying they are now going to be neutral in this conflict because they're looking long term. You have Spain, a NATO ally, who has already said the United States cannot use them in their airspace to stage attacks. The UK catching heat for allowing the United States and Israel to use their bases. Um, so what you're seeing are fractures and different philosophies within supposedly very tight allies of the United States. Additionally, because Iran has now reportedly rejected ceasefire negotiations not once, not twice, but now three times offered by the United States, it is now sinking in where people are believing this is going to be a much longer conflict than initially thought of. As a matter of fact, we have reports from CNN saying that the CIA is now proactively working within Iran to try to organize an internal resistance to overthrow the current regime internally. This is something the CIA has done for decades, trying to collect dissidents and overthrowing the current ruling class of a country. So it's not like they don't have the playbook. However, this is made much more complicated by the fact that despite the initial celebrations of the Ayatollah being killed, there are those who are now who may have been neutral or maybe leaning one way, going the other because of not just the Ayatollah's assassination, but other Iranian leaders. So this is much more complicated. With all of that going on, from a military standpoint, targets from both sides continue to be attacked. American bases in the region continue to come under fire. And the question of interceptors, those missiles that are designed to stop missiles and drones from hitting high value targets, are running out. As a matter of fact, the White House had a meeting with military manufacturers to address the issue, despite what President Trump says that they can do this forever. Military hardware, the production of it does take time, even when it's ramped up, which it currently is. The Strait of Hormuz is currently in dispute on who controls it. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard says that they have control of it. However, the United States and Israel say that is not the case. Regardless, merchant vessel traffic through there, where 20% of the oil and 30% of the natural gas of the world travels, has slowed dramatically. Insurance companies who insure those vessels are urging those vessels not to go through there right now because no one knows exactly what that means. And one last thing, the Ayatollah Khomeini's funeral apparently has been postponed due to security concerns, which makes a lot of sense considering how hot the war is. That's a significant thing when you also consider Islamic tradition of burial timelines. And then finally, internal to the United States, Kash Patel, it's been reported days before this whole thing kicked off, fired critical members within the FBI, C-12, these guys who purposely track and deal with terrorist cells linked to Iran. Many of them were fired before the military action kicks off. This says to me that, again, there is an absolute lack of coordination in the Trump administration, all the way at the cabinet level, where the Department of Defense doesn't tell the Department of Justice, the FBI, these people what the heck's going on, vice versa, so they can coordinate their responses as a strategic overview. It seems like everybody's in their own little basket doing their own little thing. And these are the things that were supposed to be corrected post 9/11. That's the whole reason we have a Department of Homeland Security, who, by the way, seems to be out to lunch while all of this is going on. Make no mistake, there are domestic threats that have been activated within the United States and other Western allies. And those countries that can coordinate their efforts have a much better chance of thwarting attacks before they happen. And right now, the United States can't even tell you why the war is going on, let alone how to handle the response. If anything happens that requires me going live, I will do so. Until then, stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and call your congressman.